Alrighty. Well, guys, apologies. I had a small technical difficulty. So I was supposed to be online 2-3 minutes ago. But nevertheless, I'm here. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if the audio is okay and if the video is okay. And then we'll wait a couple of seconds to get some people on board and then we'll get started, right? Okay, so audio, check, double check. Anyone, let me know. Hey, Mikey. Anit, hi. There's my Greek buddy from The Hague. How are you doing? Let's see. Audio's okay. Good. Portfolio finished. Cool. Actually, I'm starting with the portfolio reviews starting this Wednesday. And before I forget, I'm going to be releasing a video today in about, I would say, 2 hours or so. And it contains a very cool Maya plugin, right? So make sure you don't miss that video, right? Okay, well, we got 23 people online. Pretty cool, considering this is a completely unplanned live stream. And yep, today we're going to do a totally open Q&A, right? So we don't have any specific topic. We're going to talk about the 3D, being a 3D artist, the 3D industry, anything you like, right? So if you got any questions, let me know. Cool. I got some people from Spain. Alejandro, how are you? Good. Assad saying, I have a question. Can I ask? Yes, you can. Sure. Let's see. Mikey, I just finished my master's and I think an apprenticeship is next step, but none in the UK because of COVID. Well, I don't know if that's 100% true. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I know a lot of 3D artists in the UK. They do work with apprenticeships, although you might need to work from home, right? And what I would suggest you do is look at companies in your neighborhood where you could go physically if you needed to. Send them a message through email or whatever way you're going to use and explain to them the situation, right? Just explain that you finished your master's, you're looking for an apprenticeship and where they're interested, right? So contact them, explain the situation. I know of apprentices working right now from home for companies in the UK, right? So just so you know. So Kuldeep is saying, do I work for free or for a company? I don't work for a company. I work for my own company. I'm a freelance artist and I don't work for free because if I did, I would starve, right? Let's see. How to download Autodesk Maya 2020? Well, you go to autodesk.com, you buy Maya, and then you download it. Let's see. Questions are going pretty fast, guys. I'm going to try to pick some of them out, right? Okay, so how to get wireframe render on my 3D models. I did a video on that in Maya. So check my channel and look for render wireframe, right? Let's see, John is saying, hi there, realistically, how long would it take to learn Maya and ZBrush to get a job as a junior 3D artist role at a company? Well, that kind of depends on your experience level right now. I mean, if you have literally zero experience and have never done anything at all in 3D, it kind of depends on how fast you are, of course. But I would say to get a junior position, you would have to work very hard for at least 2 years, right? Probably more than that, but at very least 2 years, okay? Let's see. What do we got going on here? I'm a good teacher. Well, thank you. At what age did I start learning Maya? Ooh, long time ago. I would say 15, 16, 17 years ago, maybe. Do I have kids? No, I do not. I don't have kids. I do have a girlfriend though, and yeah, that's fine by me. That's by choice, and yeah, it's all good. Uh, do I think 3D modeling isn't a creative field, and is it more into the technical side? Well, it has a technical element, of course. I mean, for sure. But the thing is this, and it's kind of an interesting discussion. You need to understand the technical side in order for you to become creative with it, right? A lot of people focus on the technical aspect. That's not how you become a great artist, right? What people want to see is the creative element, the storytelling element, and so forth. So you need to start off by understanding the technique, and then from there, you will be able to introduce your creative skills, right? Let's see, I'm trying to pursue my career as a 3D artist in games industry, and I always try to stay as low poly as possible, but these comments are confusing for me. Which comments are you referring to? The thing is this, when you are looking for a job in the game industry, right? You need to look at the game industry as a whole. So what is the game industry? The game industry can be trailers, so making trailers for games. In trailers for games, there's literally no restriction because it's a trailer, right? So it's basically a small movie clip, meaning that you can work very high poly. And usually they are, because you want the trailer to look as good as possible, right? Then once you're actually working for games, you have games for cell phones, mobile games on, handheld consoles, PlayStation, and so forth and so on, right? So depending on the platform, there are different requirements. And then depending on the type of model you're working on, the different requirements as well. If you have a prop somewhere in the background of a scene, it's typically very low poly. If you're looking at the hero character in the game, it has a much higher poly count. And that poly count very much depends on what platform you're using. And then, of course, if you're working for a game, you will have a bake. So you'll have a low poly and a high poly. So you can have a high poly character for a game that's literally 2 million poly count, right? Because it can be baked on a 20,000 poly count character. Let me know if that makes sense, right? Let's see. Make a video on a realistic road, New York City in Maya Arnold. I already asked in your Instagram. Well, the thing is this, and I do apologize. I get about 400 messages every day, right? I get comments, I get emails, I get things through Facebook, and I try to keep up with everything, but it's literally impossible. Now, when I make videos, my videos are not about showing how I model things. My videos are about teaching you guys techniques so you can go out and make your own videos, right? So modeling something like a realistic New York City setup would take a very long time to do it correctly. And it would be kind of a bit beside the point of why I'm doing this. Can I use the cracked version of Autodesk Maya? I would heavily advise against it for the simple reason that it's hurting the 3D industry. A lot of 3D artists pay a lot of money to work with this software. They worked a long time to be able to afford it. Autodesk themselves, of course, are spending a lot of time and money to develop it. And I think, as fair is fair. You don't want to work for free either, right? So there you go. Let's see. Interesting question. What's my daily inspiration for 3D work? How do I schedule it? Well, because I'm a freelance artist, part of my job is not 3D related. It is business related. So finding clients, making contracts, answering emails, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's basically on the fly. Now, besides being a 3D artist, I'm also a 3D consultant where I help companies and 3D artists to develop their brand, their portfolio, and so forth. So I usually have a planning that will go for several weeks ahead, sometimes even several months. And I try to keep some flexibility. I know for a fact that I need to do, for example, paperwork in a week. I don't always do it on Monday, but I will do it in that week. As far as inspiration is concerned for 3D, I tend to write down things that inspire me. So let's say I'm talking to somebody and he says, "Oh, I saw this great movie about I don't know, a train in the 1880s or something." And that will give me the idea to do something with a train. I will make a little note and I put it on my desk, train. And then at some point I'll say, "Hey, I think I'm going to go out and make something like that," right? Okay, what kind of freelance jobs do I take? Well, first of all, less and less, because the YouTube channel is becoming so large. It's taking so much of my time that it's hard to do that, combined with my consultancy work. And I also work as a photographer. I also work as a fly fish instructor, and I also work as a survival instructor, right? So a lot of stuff going on there. What type of freelance jobs do I do? I work for universities, or I do scientific simulations. I work for hospitals where I do medical simulations. I work for product manufacturers where I do prototyping. I work for toy companies where they are working on the new design for a toy, jewelry stuff, basically anything that comes on my path, right? I would say the one thing I don't really do is characters. I don't really do that. Let's see. Okay, the New York Road thing. We saw that. Yeah. Favorite fly fishing rod currently? Interesting question. Well, it is an open Q&A, and I said you could ask anything, so why not? Yes, my favorite fly fishing rod is by the Winston Fly Rod Company. And I believe they're in Wyoming. And yeah, my favorite weight is a 5.6, 9 foot, and my favorite line is a weight forward 6. Now, those of you who don't fly fish have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's fine. Comes back to pottery also. Not sure what that means, but sure. For AMD graphics with rendering is suitable. I personally, well, the thing is this, you're talking about AMD, so I assume, okay, you're talking about AMD graphics cards. In the 3D industry, for me personally, I would probably go with NVIDIA for the simple reason that NVIDIA is very much involved in the development of ray trace rendering. They did a whole cooperation with Autodesk where, excuse me, Autodesk developed the Arnold rendering system from Maya 2020, which is ray trace rendering. And they did this together with NVIDIA. So these two support each other very well. And as I personally work with Maya, that's my choice to do that. So that's why I wouldn't go with AMD. Let's see. The first part is a bit further up. Okay, let me see what we're talking about here. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, got it. All right, let's go back. So when it comes to people saying that your models are too simplistic, what they usually don't mean, and I'm kind of guessing here, but I'm kind of deducting this, right? I think they mean something else, because what is simplistic, right? Simplistic typically means low detail. Now, low detail isn't wrong, right? Especially if you're working on low poly props and whatnot. Low detail is fine. And you might want to work with normal maps, you might not want to. Typically, when they talk about simplistic, they mean that they don't think the texture is selling your model, or the lighting is setting your model, and it needs overall improvement or not, right? Now, Whether that's the case or not very much depends on who is saying this. You know how people are online, right? People tend to be very brutal, especially when it's anonymous. And you need to find people you trust and ask their advice and then go from there. That will be my recommendation. Okay. Let's see. Is photorealistic model, does it have to be high poly? Well, no, because you would do a high poly model to use to bake your height maps and normal maps, right? So you can make a high poly model, bake that detail onto a low poly model, and then we'll have a highly detailed low poly model, right? Let's see, what do we got? Will I create tutorials for character modeling? Well, I typically don't do characters. That said, I have done models on simple characters. I did models on hand modeling. I did models or videos on character rigging, on skin binding, on weight painting. Basically, all the elements you need for character modeling, I did videos on that, right? Is there a rule of thumb when it comes to topology or a way to make sure your topology is always correct? Well, there's a difference between topology being technically correct or, yeah, let me go with technical first. If your topology isn't technically correct, yeah, you would have things like n-gons and stuff like that in your model, which will give you trouble when you're rendering because your texture will look off, lighting wouldn't work properly, and you would literally get calculation problems in your renders, right? That's a technical aspect. Now, there's also a practical aspect. If you are modeling something like a character and you're going to deform that character because you're animating it, you got, for example, an edge flow around the mouth is moving a lot, right? You want to have an edge flow that supports the movement you're going to make with your model. So that's more, I would say, the practical aspect and maybe slightly less the technical, but they're both very important, right? Let's see. Okay, tips for modeling moderately high poly buildings. Yes. Whenever you're modeling buildings, you will, if you're modeling them for a movie or for a game or for whatever purpose, these the distance between the viewer and the building will change at some point, right? You pass a building, so initially you're far from the building, you get closer, and then you move further away again, right? Typically in environmental modeling, especially when there are buildings involved, what you would do is work with LODs or level of detail. So and I did a video on that recently. So you have a super low poly model of that same building way far in the background. And as you move closer, the level of detail goes up and the software regulates that for you. So you'll go from, for example, level 5 detail, which is very low poly, up to 4, 3, 2. And as you get very close, it will go to level 1. And then as you move away again, it will go to 2 and 3, right? Okay. Right, so Max is saying, I definitely recommend VRay for AMD GPUs. I assume you mean AMD GPUs. And like I said, NVIDIA is my personal preference. I have nothing against AMD GPUs, but in my specific circumstances, I choose NVIDIA. That doesn't mean that AMD isn't good, right? How about commenting on some portfolios? Well, like I said, I did a post online where I asked people to send in their portfolio, and I got a huge list of people that did so. And as of upcoming Wednesday, I'll be posting the first portfolio review on my channel in a video, right? Okay, let's see. Tutorials for character modeling, just talked about that. Interest in sculpting figures, could be good focus on merchandise or... Okay, well, the thing is this. You can't just go out and sculpt existing figures. If you're going to sculpt Spider-Man and you want to sell that online, you're going to run into trouble because that's copyrighted material, right? You can't do that. You can't create Disney figures or Pixar figures or whatever and go out and sell that. That's illegal, right? Let's see. Affinity Designer is different and Maya is different. Yep, correct. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just turn that off. Yeah, let's see. Intel i9, nice. Will I create characters for character modeling? That question is coming up again and again. Probably not specifically, no. I'm not really a fan of that. Well, I'm not saying I don't like it. It's just that when it comes to character modeling, it's a biped or it's a quadruped, right? So 2 legs, 4 legs. That's basically it. And I tend to go back and look at, where's the learning element in that process to put into the tutorial, right? Let's see. Selena saying, I find character modeling way too common nowadays. I wonder if I should try something else. Well, what happens all the time, and people are going to disagree with me, is they'll go out and they'll get a base mesh model, right? They basically have the entire character with the exception of the head, and then they go in and they change the head or something like that. I'm not a big fan of that. You got all these pre-made models, and I think it's a waste of time and a waste of skill to do it that way, right? So yeah, I tend to agree. I think if you want to get hired as a 3D artist, it'd be good to not only know how to do characters, but to do other work as well. Is Substance best for texturing? I don't know if it's best. I would say for me it is, but there are other applications that work quite well. I mean, you got 3D Coat, you got Marmoset Toolbag, you got Mari, other programs, but a lot of people use Substance for sure, right? Let's see here. Can I guide what is best for 3D artists in terms of profile management, like work for company or 3D consultant or freelance or open your own studio? What is best to sustain? That is very personal. That depends on your personal circumstances, right? The only thing I can say is, I mean, there are really 2 ways to go. One is working for a studio as an employee, and the other one is freelance. If you're working for a studio, that typically encompasses everything, right? If you're working freelance, my tip is make sure you have a diversity of income. So don't rely on one income stream. Sell models online, do some consultancy work, do some freelance work. Make sure you got money coming from all over the place. And they're usually not large amounts, but if something happens, you're at least covered, right? I see you got one of my channel members on here. Hopefully I pronounce your name right. Ayush, I would say. Yeah. Thanks for doing Q&A. Yeah, no problem. And thank you for supporting my channel. Am I going to make any more special effects in Maya? Of course, absolutely. If you got any requests, I mean, I know you always comment on my videos, Selena, and you have done so for years. So if you post a request under one of my videos and ask me to do one of these videos, I will do that, right? Okay, let's see, how to price our models. That kind of depends. Are you going to sell a model online, or are you going to price a model towards a client? Is it a default model that you're going to sell 20 times over, or is it one specific model for one client, right? Then you need to look at where do you live, what are the typical rates for models, where you live, and what will suit the quality of your work. So there are many questions involved here, yeah? Let's see, what computer specs do I recommend for my animation renders? This may sound very cliche, but basically what you can afford. I mean, the sky's the limit. You can spend $50,000 on a PC if you want to, but if you have a laptop that's $800 and that's all you have, that's what you're going to use, right? Very hard to recommend there. I would say it's important to have a fast CPU and a good GPU, but other than that, you know. Let's see, do I have to learn all the 3D software, or is Maya enough to get a job? I would definitely advise to do more than just Maya, because when it comes to things like texturing and so forth, you typically involve more types of software, and it makes you more flexible as an artist, yeah? Let's see what else. Same question a couple of times over. Can you wish my friend Nick Gurr a happy birthday because I sent a super chat? Well, happy birthday, Nick. I hope you have a great day. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Telephone. Yeah, that's right. Oops. Did I just skip a mile here? Hope I didn't. I'm sorry. What did I do? Sorry about that, guys. Just a bit mouse happy, I guess. Let's see. What is the difference between modeling in ZBrush versus Maya? Well, I assume you're talking about sculpting in ZBrush versus Maya, because in ZBrush you sculpt or you do poly modeling. And the poly modeling you do in ZBrush is basically the same principle as Maya or Blender or 3ds Max and so forth. So you can do that, yeah? Let's see. Sorry about that fast scroll, guys. I hope I didn't skip a whole bunch of questions there. Let's see. Many animators are saying there will be much stress in animation. Is that correct? What are the reasons for it? Well, the thing is this. When it comes to animators are the one that tell the story, right? I mean, everybody tells the story, but specifically animators. So there's a huge team of people working on concept art and environments and base model and blocking out and mood boards and storyboards and all that stuff, right? And then once the animator starts doing his work, the people that are in charge of the story, they want to know how far you are, and they make small changes, and then it's all about deadlines, and it has to be done fast. And that's kind of the reason, I guess, right? It kind of depends on the circumstances, but that's my guess there. Can I make a video on UV unwrapping? I have a playlist on UV unwrapping, and I think I made 35 videos on UV unwrapping, so check them out. Do I use Lumion software? I do not, sorry. I'm reading delayed comments. They were 5-10 minutes before you read them. Delay is making a lot of the comments out of context. Okay, well, I don't know really what to do about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't know what comment to start with, to be honest. So sorry about that, guys. So what I'll do is I'll read the question and then answer it. So at least that's combined, yeah. Let's see here. So how to very quickly determine how to move on with a model, like how to start modeling and model really confused. I'm sorry, buddy. I have no idea what you're asking here. I don't. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm from India and a rotomation artist, and I work with animation tool, but the graph is not coming properly, but the animation is smooth. You need to give me a little bit more context, guys. I really don't know what you're saying. Sorry. Okay, what kind of computer do I own or use? Right, so I have a Intel i7 12-core CPU. I have an RTX 6000 GPU. I have 128 gigabytes of RAM and two 32-inch screens. Okay. Let's see. I often find the technical troubles regarding the process discouraging, make it hard to get the finish line of a project. How do you balance artistic and technical aspects like that? Well, I hear that a lot, and it's kind of sad, really. Well, I wouldn't say sad, but the thing is, there's this huge hurdle of the technical aspect that you need to pass before you can, I would say, have fun as a 3D artist in Maya and so forth, right? There's so much to learn from a technical standpoint in Maya, 3ds Max, Blender, ZBrush, whatever you're using, right? And people tend to get stuck in that area because they don't have the proper skills and they never get to that point where they can actually be free and creative doing that, right? That's why I always advise, don't go out and try to learn 20 different types of software. Focus on one, get really good at it. And once you have that done, you will be able to switch to other packages quite simple, right? Do I think the style of character is important? Is it enough if you only know of those styles? Well, the thing is, it's cool to have your own style, but you also need to show studios and clients that you can follow their style, because sometimes they have a style in mind, and if you as an artist can follow that style, you are more attractive to hire, right? I've done texturing in Substance Painter, but after seeing a different tutorial on Blender's procedural texturing, I was blown away. Like in Substance, we can create a curvature map through which we can add edge detail. You can do that in Substance Painter as well. So, yeah. Let's see. Any quick tips on speeding up 3D asset production? First of all, over time, as a 3D artist, what you do is you build an asset library. So if I model a table, I'll save that table. If I model a door, I'll save that door. 2 years from now, I'll probably be modeling a house and I need a door and I'll get it from my library, and I need a window and I'll get it from my library. That's typically how you speed things up like that, right? Let's see. What software do I recommend for texturing an environment and substitute for Maya? Okay, texturing Substance Painter, I would say. Okay, I don't know who's doing that spamming crap here, but you are now gone. Okay. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It's annoying. How hard did I find it? How hard did I find it trying to obtain work earlier in my career when being asked to accomplish the project with another 3D software? I wouldn't say not that hard. Like I said, I mean, if you're comfortable, let's say you work in Maya, right? And they say, hey, can you make whatever? And you can answer that question with yes. That means that you know your software very well, right? Now, if you're at that level in whatever program you're working in, you should be able to switch to another program like Blender or 3ds Max, whatever, literally in a matter of days, right? So if I've never worked in Blender ever, but I'm very experienced in Maya, I should be able to work in Blender within a matter of 2 days. That's kind of the what they expect, right? Okay. 3D Space Navigator. I used that for a while. I had one of those. I thought it was great. Problem is, it works awesome in Maya. But if you, for whatever reason, have to switch between Maya and other software and go back and whatnot, it's not supported by all software. So what freelancing website do I use? I really don't use any. I use my own existing network and I use LinkedIn, right? One question I always wanted to ask you, how do you stay motivated as a relatively new Maya user? Because I always get lost in my working progress and lose motivation to keep going. Well, if you use motivation to keep going, then I suggest you think really hard why you want to be a 3D artist to begin with. Because you might want to be a 3D artist, but maybe you hate 3D modeling, which is possible, right? And maybe you are looking for a way to express yourself creatively, but it's not 3D. Maybe it's 2D. Maybe it's stop motion animation. Maybe it's something completely different, right? Let's see. Is topology important in 3D modeling? If not for animation, yes, it is. Because topology, I mean, if there's no deformation, and I assume that's what you're talking about with animation, if there's no deformation, then topology is still important for texturing purposes, right? Let's see, we got yes and yep and so forth. How many projects should I have on my ArtStation portfolio in order to apply for my first job? It's not so much how many, it's more that with your portfolio, you're telling a story. So if you show a model, great. As a potential client, I want to know where that design came from. Did you design it? Is it a concept? Did you create that concept? Did you block it out first? What is your working method? Show me your wireframe. Show me your UV maps. Show me your bake maps. Explain to me how you work, why you work that way, and how you came to that end result. So even if you got one project going on there, that'll be fine as long as it gives me the information that I want, right? How to grow a YouTube channel like me? Spend 20,000 hours on it. That's really the thing. I mean, you're going. I mean, the first year I was on YouTube, I mean, there was not really a lot going on there. I think I had something like 100 subscribers, right? And you just keep on going and be consistent and always upload on the same day and develop a brand and just keep on going and keep on going, right? Do I interview professional 3D artists? Yes, I do. I do. I interview companies. I interview professional 3D artists. I speak at international 3D events and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we got COVID going on right now, but I, behind the scenes, work with a lot of 3D events where I would interview people up front and then they would broadcast that interview at the event and that kind of stuff, you know? Let's see. Okay, please give a shout out to me. I make After Effects tutorials. Sunny, okay, shout out to Sunny. Here we go. Let's see. Often stuck in texturing. I'm not able to select color. And all, how can I improve? I'm sorry, don't understand your question. Apologies. John Carter, what do you do when you get burned out? How do you get back in the right state of mind? Simple. I do something else. I grab my camera, I go hiking in the forest, I walk my dog, I do something that has nothing to do with 3D whatsoever. And I don't worry about it. If I'm burned out for a day or a week, that's fine. I mean, if I'm burned out for months, then there's another problem, right? I'm studying to become a 3D environmental artist, and I'm creating an environment with Maya and using subdivision, sub D and sub P for create textures. You think it's enough having these three softwares for portfolio? Yeah, I mean, usually it's not about the software you use, usually, especially when it comes to clients. If you work freelance, clients are usually not 3D people, so they don't really care what you use as long as you deliver, right? Let's see. Okay, I get this question a lot. I'm from India. I'm pursuing a career, but not a lot of jobs here. Should I move to the US? Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you have that option, sure. But if not, keep in mind a lot of 3D work is done all over the world, regardless where you live, right? Let's see. I can't do each and every question, guys. So I'm just picking a few of them. It doesn't mean that I don't like your question. It's just to keep things flowing, right? Thanks, Sonny. Right. Bob Ross videos. Yeah. I don't know how many people know Bob Ross, but if you know Bob Ross, then you're older than 40, probably. How detailed should your knowledge of human anatomy be from modeling characters? That kind of depends on your style. If you are doing a stylized character, not so much. If you're going to go for photorealism, yeah. Let's see, Ryzen or Intel. I would say nowadays they're very compatible. Ayushing, nah, it's okay, Mike. Oh, thank you. Right, let's see. I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, so train them is my cause. Any tips? Wow, you're a poet. My tip is this. Don't compete with others. Compete with yourself. I see a lot of people looking at work by others, and they're like, oh, I'm never going to be that good, and what should I do, and all that stuff, right? The thing is this, what you need to do is you need to compare your work to your work 3 months ago or 3 years ago and compete with yourself and be the best artist you can be, right? Because no two 3D artists are the same. Which render works best for experienced 3D artists? Oh, there's so many. You have Pixar Render Man, you have Redshift, you have tons and tons. V-Ray, of course. You know, up to you, basically. Okay, so Christopher's saying applied for a couple of jobs 3 weeks ago, didn't hear anything. Well, what I would do is I would be very proactive, and I would call them and say, hey, listen, I sent you guys an inquiry for a job 3 weeks ago. I'm very eager to find out whether you were in the process or not already. If you, for whatever reason, have already decided against me, please let me know what the reason is so I can improve that, and so forth and so on. If there's a stack of applications on their desk and you're at the bottom, as soon as you call them, they'll pull yours out of that stack and put it back on top, which is always a good thing, right? And even if they don't want to hire you, find out why not, so you have information to improve, okay? How are you knowing if you're doing great with topology? If the topology doesn't create any issues as far as texturing, as far as lighting, as far as animation, then you're on the right path. If very experienced people tell you that it's great, then you know you're definitely on the right path, right? Any tips on a workflow with Booleans? Yes, don't use them. Bob Ross is a meme. Okay, that's probably the reason. I know Bob Ross from when he was on TV, so that says a lot. With the UV unwrapping, should you trust the checker map over the distortion map if they don't match? Like the checker is fine, but it's saying it's distorted. Well, if the checkered map is distorted on your preview 3D model, then you know you have a problem, and I would definitely go with that. Any tips on getting freelance work? Yes, build a network, build a network, build a network, build a network, and build a network. Starting in 3D with Blender, would like to do work for VR in the future. Do you have some advice how to achieve that goal? Again, network, network, network. Now, I know I'm going to get the question, how do I do that? Well, what you do is you go online, you go into social media groups on Facebook, in your case, specifically towards VR, and you follow along in that group, and you connect with people, comment on their posts, comment your own stuff, and so forth and so on, right? And that's how you go about that. And at some point, people will recognize your work, they will recognize you, they will get you involved, and they will ask you for projects. And that's how things are done. I mean, it takes a long time, but that's just the way it is. LearnScape, big fan, thank you. Yeah, so Mental Ray was around until what, 2017, I think, 16, 17, and then NVIDIA discontinued Mental Ray, so it's gone. What would I advise for college students that just feel the work is too much? I mean, it doesn't really matter what I would feel about that. If you feel it's that way, then look at your time management, look at your priorities. Are you spending too much time on the wrong things? Are you not spending enough time on the right things, right? And if it's just too overwhelming for you, then maybe it's just, not for you. Let's see. Bob Ross is more than a meme to me that hurt. He teaches you to make your own mistake instead of copying others. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, everything's a meme nowadays. But Bob Ross, he was huge back in the day, and he would teach you to really think outside the box and be really creative. He could, just drop a line on a painting that you thought was like, what happened there, right? And then 5 minutes later, it looked awesome. So if you if you struggle to be creative, check out the Bob Ross videos for sure. A few days ago, Snowball Studios sent me a test on 3D model, but then they reject my application due to my work doesn't meet the requirements. If you have a section, would you take a look in your next video? I can take a look, but not in my next video because I have about 64 requests to do so, right? And I promised people that I would pick and choose, and it wouldn't be fair for them to do that. But if you send me an email at mikehermes@mhtutorials.com, I will have a look and give you some feedback, right? Self-learning 3D in Blender in my free time after work. I hope to make props and environments as I gain experience. Could you give me any advice on this? Keep on going. That's all I can say. Stay up to date. Check out people you like on YouTube, and just keep on learning every day. It doesn't matter how small it is. Learn something new every day. As you do so, you will become more confident, your work will become better, and at some point, hopefully, you will transition towards a paid job. Yeah? Let's see. Your comment on price exploitation for 3D work in Asian countries. Right. Now, not necessarily just Asian countries, but I would say countries where the typical monthly wages are lower, right? I mean, if you look at 3D artists in Africa, in parts of Asia, in other areas in the world where wages are lower, people that are in Western communities where the wages are higher have a feeling that they are competing against these low wages. But at the same time, you're buying more than just a model. The personal local relationship you have with a 3D artist is very important as well. And when you're buying a model online, that's a different thing. You're basically buying a box, right? You pay for it, you get it, you're done. When you're working with the 3D artist, it is a collaboration. You're communicating, you're talking, you're exchanging ideas and so forth. And then the language is important, the culture is important. Having a good understanding of that local community is important. So it's not necessarily a threat, right? Let's see. Sonny is saying, any way you could help me? I'm totally fine, but I really appreciate the offer. Should I watch old Maya videos to learn, or are they outdated? No, not at all. I mean, typically they put in new features in Maya, but they don't take out old ones. I have videos from 2014 that are, even today, still the best view videos. Okay, what do I think about procedural generation? I think that is great if that fits your workflow. More and more people are doing this. That's not really the creative side of things, but if you are looking to create a whole bunch of things fast, that's definitely the way to go. What 3D software is the most expensive? I would say that would be Maya or 3ds Max. My dog in the background isn't moving for the last 50 minutes. Well, that's because it's made out of wood. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. In the present modeling industry, in studios or companies, is the poly count what is being taken into consideration, just faces or vertices? Well, the poly count relates to faces, right? Is that the only thing that's taken into account for what? For how they judge 3D artists? Please elaborate on that, right? That's a statue, I guess. Yes, it is. I do have an actual dog. He's in the kitchen over there somewhere, but I do. Would you say photogrammetry will replace 3D modeling. Absolutely not. No chance. First of all, photometry models need to be cleaned up, right? Second is a 3D artist is so much more than a machine that creates a model, right? Your job as a 3D artist is to work with people to help them turn their vision into something that's visual, whether it's a story, a movie, an animated movie, a commercial, or whatever that may be, right? Do I think it's good to make assets for your game and then sell them? I would not sell assets that I'm using in my actual game. I would sell assets, though, just to make a living or to get some additional income, but not the ones used in my game. Will I make 3D buildings in the future? Well, if you want me to, I will. Just send me a reference image and ask me to model it, and I will. I mean, if I get requests for videos, I'll certainly do that. And like I said before, considering you are a longtime supporter of my channel, yeah, you get kind of a preferred treatment, if you will. How do you use 3D artwork to tell a good story? Good question. Your 3D art, the whole idea of 3D art is to tell a story, right? So the story leads the model doesn't lead the story. So you come up with a story and then you come up with a model that tells that story. So if you are very much in tune with how the story is told or written, and you have a good understanding from whoever wrote that story what they want to express, then that will help you to make your models much better. How much time do I have to model per day to not get out of practice? Well, the first couple of years, you need to model a lot to get muscle memory, if you will, right? The thing is, over time, I mean, I've modeled thousands of hours, so I can easily not model for a month and then go back in and model, and it's not a problem, right? So yeah, if you're fairly new, you need to practice more. Let's see, modeling some hard surface stuff, but I hate using Maya and prefer ZBrush. Is it viable to sculpt in ZBrush first and then retopo in Maya? Of course, you can do that, but you can also do polygonal hard surface modeling in ZBrush directly, so you don't need Maya. Let's see, not a troll question. I was paid to sculpt a porn scene. Okay, the anatomy came out really good, and it's probably my best work ever. Can I use it for my reel? Well, the thing is this. Is it an erotic scene or is it a porn scene? I mean, that's a big difference. Because if you put this on your portfolio, you might have potential clients that don't want to work with you, right? One thing you could do is take certain elements of the anatomy, make screenshots and not depict the whole scene, but just screenshots of muscles of the legs, elbows, and so forth, and kind of keep out the explicit stuff and do it that way. Alternatively, you put areas in your portfolio where they have to click on 18 plus before they can actually see the work, right? But I'd be very careful with that, unless you want to make a career making 3D models for porn scenes. Let's see. Okay. Okay, quick breakdown of PBR and its uses. Okay, so physical-based rendering is different than traditional cutouts of UV textures, if you will. And basically, it allows you to paint directly onto a 3D model, even when you're overlapping UV shells, right? So before you would paint on a UV shell and then stick it on the model. Now you paint on the 3D model and it ends up on the UV shell. Okay. What do I prefer from modeling? I prefer Maya. Let's see, what are we doing on time, guys? Yeah, we'll do another 5 minutes or so. Yeah. 18 plus clients. Yeah. how to use 3D for story. Music is a good way. Use music in your heads to make it cinematic. This works good when picturing oneself jumping on a T-55 and dropping a grenade. Okay. Let's see. Do I enjoy working in group projects? I often find it either very fun or feel left out. Well, due to the nature of my work, because I'm freelance and I do so many different things, it's very hard for me to work in groups because I can't follow other people's timelines because of that, right? I do work in groups, but more like in a pipeline. Somebody will deliver something to me that I work on, and then I deliver it to the next person, right? Do we really need like architectural degree or bachelor in interior design to be able to design 3D interiors that are applicable in real life? No, you don't. Does it help? Absolutely. I mean, the whole thing here is knowledge and skill. If you can get your knowledge and skill in a different way, great, right? Do I worry about losing my job as I get older? And no, I don't. How do I prevent this from happening? Because I'm worried. Well, the thing is, hopefully, as you get older, you get more skilled, right? And with more skilled, I'm not specifically talking about more skilled as a 3D artist. I'm talking about and I don't know what your age is, but you probably know this. As you get older, your ability to read people and your skills in communicating with people and being diplomatic and understanding business and all this stuff becomes better, right? And the emphasis will more and more be on projects like this. So what I tend to find is as you grow older, your client base changes, right? Clients that have a very hard time explaining their vision to a 3D artist because they're not really sure what their vision is or how it should be explained. They need the help of very experienced 3D artists that have done this many, many times over. And you become more like a coach for your client instead of just a 3D artist, right? That's happened to me. And that's actually how I got into my consultancy work. But that happened to me as well. And now I have less clients than I had before, but they're much more reliable because they will come back every time, right? Let's see. Bachelor master degrees most recommended to apply for big companies. Getting hired in big companies is usually about knowing somebody who knows somebody, so having one foot in the door. They tend to ask for a master's degree, but the thing is this: if you have 1,000 people apply for a job, right, and you can pick whoever you want, what you're going to do is you're going to take everybody with a master's degree and then pick one out of those. So if you don't have that master's degree or bachelor degree, you need to have a portfolio that's unique and that adds something to what they have, so they want you regardless, right? So don't try to compete with them. Try to compete with yourself. Be unique, be creative. The thing with master degrees is people that did a college degree or university degree, they're all taught the same thing. So they think in a similar way, they work in a similar way. To give you an example, and this is always my go-to example, if you know Tim Burton has an extremely specific style, right? Everybody that sees his work knows, hey, this is Tim Burton. You need to come up with a very specific style for yourself, okay? All right, let's see. I'll do one more question, guys. Okay, so Selena, you got your questions answered. That's cool. Good for you. And like I said, I really appreciate you because I know you've been following my videos for a very long time. So thank you for that. Okay, what I always do before I forget is, I don't know if you guys are a member of my Facebook group, right? You have a lot of questions. I have in my personal Hangout group, the MH Tutorials Hangout group on Facebook, well over 4,000 3D artists, right? All of them have experience. They're producers, directors, 3D artists, special effects people, everything and everything, right? So I'll give you a link and then you can join that if you like. Okay, so here is that link. You're all invited to join, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's so much experience there, and yeah, even if you are completely new to the industry, that's fine. So yeah, okay. Right, guys. Well, we're on 1 full hour. I want to thank you all for your time, as always. Hopefully, I'll see you guys in the Facebook group. For those of you who are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I found out that 80% of the people that look at my videos are actually not even subscribed, right? Hitting that sub button helps me out a lot, right? So if you would do that, that'd be awesome. Thank you all so much. Hope to see you in the Facebook group, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.